Hey, you're listening to the right episode of the Loan Officer Leadership Podcast. If you wanted to hear how in the world do I make time for that, I am your host, Steve Kiles, and we are powered by the Mortgage Marketing Animals. And Kristin, we got a great kind of a quick hit topic. You are a massive part of the Loan Officer Breakfast Club. So every day we have Kristin's Corner. And so you said, Steve, I got a topic. Let's talk about it. So what do we have today?
All right. So this is a question from one of our members. And in particular, they were talking about, hey, I want to really dial in my follow-up system and I want to integrate my CRM but this could be for anything we're trying to implement outside of the daily success plan. When you look at your calendar, Steve, and you've got something like that to do, how do you juggle navigating where to put that?
Yeah. Hey, great question. And there's so much to get done. So here's what you have to do. The number one thing that has to get done in order to keep your business running is sales. So there's really two parts, sales and sales fulfillment. Of course, there's operations and there's finance and things like that. But what I think about is this, Kristin, what is the thing that got the last 10 deals in the door? Number one, it's the sales activity. So when you're looking at your week, the sales activity can never stop. If it stops over time and actually short order, you'll see the sales start going down. And that's what happens when somebody hits 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 loans. Then typically, if they don't have a who to help them with it, you'll watch them drop down to 2, 3, 4 because they stop doing the sales activity. So number one, Kristin, here's what we got to do. Calendar what matters most. So from 9 to 11, make sure your sales activity gets done. Then what you've got to look at is what other parts of the day, and I personally like working on my business on Fridays. That's what I
was just going to ask that. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of it. So I execute Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 7:30 to 4:30 every 30 minutes. I mean, some days I'll run 14, 15 appointments straight. And what I usually do will keep Friday for on my business. So I don't let anything scheduled get on my calendar, because what I'll do is I'll do content or I'll do business process or recruiting or whatever it is I want to fix. I spend that on Fridays and then usually try to just make sure that it's on the business, not in the business.
I love that answer. And, it was making me think too. I know I've heard Carl say it. I know if you heard you say it, for every how, there's a who. So when it comes to like setting up a CRM, right? Depending on, and everybody's working with a different CRM, depending on that. Would you say a best practice would be to find somebody who's already really good at that?
Yeah. And hey, Kristin, you know what really helps? This is probably the question that's helped me the most in the last 2 years scale. Who can do that? And I hear it all the time, Kristin. Hey, well, I don't have anybody. No. There's like, look, when I started this network that I created, there was literally zero. And I walked into an organization and I kept saying, Kristin, who at corporate can help me with that? Hey, who can do this? Hey, like even yesterday, I was working with IT and I said, hey, who in IT can help me with that? Well, I think so-and-so may have a little bit of margin. Fantastic. Here's my link. Let's get them to a 15-minute call. Let me tell them what I'm expecting and let's get it done. Because Kristin, it doesn't matter how big or small the company is, there's typically underutilized resources. So whether it's marketing, CRM, whether it's IT, heck, I got here and I said, hey, who could help me recruit? And they said, we have a recruiter that literally recruits loan officer assistants who's way underutilized. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like you got a recruiter inside the company. And I have found when you ask, well, look, I heard Craig Groeschel say this. He has, I don't know, one of the largest churches in America. Most people don't know him. I think he has over 120,000 people that attend weekly. I mean, massive, massive leader. And he would say this, when you have a great vision attracts resources. So what you have to do is make sure you got the right vision and then start casting the vision. Hey, listen, I gotta really, that's what I did. Hey, I got a plan to get to this number. Who else at the company can help with that? Well, you'll typically hear, oh, we don't have somebody. No, there's got to be somebody. You take that next step and ask the next question and don't stop till you find a resource close to you. Here's the other thing too. You can oftentimes get a VA. I have a virtual assistant. And I'll throw him tasks and I'll just say, hey, listen, I need this done, do this. And with very little direction, even if I've got to invest 30 minutes to an hour, he'll jump into my calendar because it's on my terms. I'll send him my link, pick a time that works for you. And then let me just take 30 minutes and tell you what I'm thinking. And here's the good news. He'll go do it the best he can. And even if it's only 70, 80, 85% as well as I would, at least I didn't do it. I stayed focused on sales. And then I worked on my business on Friday at a higher level and really tried to stay out of the minutia. Because look, you can enter data into a CRM, or I can pay somebody a small amount of money so that I can focus on the high level activities. Hey, and Kristin, that's where you find people saying I'm working 50, 60, 70 hours because they're holding on to everything instead of either letting go of what doesn't move the needle. Because I think, Kristin, sometimes we got to just understand doing this one thing may not make as big an impact as I thought. So let me focus on the sales activity that moves the needle. And then the other part is who can do that and spend a few dollars so that you're focused on the high leveraged activities.
Yeah. And that sales activity, that's probably the last thing I'm going to farm out.
100%.
I mean, everything else before that.
Well, and not only that, Kristin, and that's why coaching is so important, so important. I was talking to a loan officer this morning, literally this morning. I spent 30 minutes with her. She's out of the Dallas market, great loan officer. And she was telling me that, like, even on the sales, it's not enough to do sales activity. It's doing the right sales activity. She was spending 3 hours a day making outbound calls, and the results were not very good. And I just thought, it's not enough to do sales activity. You can make a bunch of calls. It's doing the right sales activity that gives you the right results. Here's what I told her, Kristin. I said, hey, girl, can I let some weight off your shoulder? She said, absolutely. I said, instead of calling 3 hours, how about you only call 2 hours? And instead of 5 days a week, let's go to 4 days a week. The only difference I want you to make is get a qualified list of agents and stop calling anyone.
Yeah.
She was just calling all of them. And I said, do you realize 94 or 95 out of 100 don't even have one person to give you? Yeah. So don't make all those calls, make the right calls. Don't do all and that's what I told her. I said, here's the good news. You have the hardest activity mastered. You know how to make phone calls. Now let's just make the right ones. And I think when you're thinking about how do I build margin or when do I spend time on my business, number one, do your right sales activity. Because look, Kristin, here's the deal. You know, if I buckle down and I do my sales for the next 90 days, I have a little bit of money in my pocket. And now I can take a little bit of money and put it towards a who, so that I don't add hours to my life. I'm able to focus on sales, hire somebody, or even part-time work, have somebody do the busy work. So all I've got to do is sell and learn how to manage, lead, and grow a great business.
Yeah. And then while that person's working on that thing that I'm trying to get implemented, I'm still selling.
That's it. The key is this: you can't stop selling. And then, Kristin, somebody say, well, I don't want to make calls the whole time. Awesome. Make enough calls so that you can hire the right person who at some point can do it 80 or 90% as good as you. And then you have the ability to hand it off. Now, if you want to grow exponentially, stick in there, keep making the calls while they do, and then hire the next person. But yeah, I mean, you typically don't want to let go of the sales. Unless you just say, I absolutely hate it, then do enough to hire somebody who can come in and continue with the same results you're getting or better.
Yeah. All right. I love that advice.
Yeah, girl. Well, listen, I love these Kristin corners. And for all of you who are listening, to all of our community, we're so grateful that you're on the journey with us. Make sure that we'd love for you to, if you're not already attending the Loan Officer Breakfast Club, Kristin brings a Kristin's Corner every single Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 9. Go to loanofficerbreakfastclub.com, loanofficerbreakfastclub.com. If you're not already a part of the morning community, man, it's such a game changer. But Kristin, thank you for being a part of what we do. You're so good and gifted at not only helping people, but just coaching and helping us all stay focused on what matters most. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge, Steve.
All right, girl. Well, listen, for all our listeners, thank you for being here and being a part. Share this with 2 LOs need to hear this today. Give us a review wherever you consume content. Hey, and by the way, if you do, just as an act of coolness, if you give us a review, Kristin and I will give you the AI for Loan Officers book that Carl and Tammany just wrote.
Such a good one.
Isn't that a cool one? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to just do an act of coolness. If you'll give us a review wherever you consume content, take a picture of it, send it to support@themarketinganimals and say, I want the AI book. We will send you a copy of AI for Loan Officers that Carl White, Tammy Schneider just wrote, for giving us a review and telling us how this podcast is impacting your life. And remember this. Oh, by the way, send it to support@themarketinganimals.com. By the way, remember, anything worth doing, it's worth doing badly. Just get started. See you.
Thank you.